our Project 23 right over here. So again, it was just a couple hundred feet from here, right over there where the parking structure is now built, that all of these boxes came from that area. When they found these 16 deposits in that location, what they had to do was dig around the deposit, remove all of the dirt sediment that was covering over those locations. And in order to stay on good terms with the Museum of Art, our compromise was to actually remove the deposits from that area and bring them onto our property in these crates. Otherwise, had we worked on it the way we work on Pit 91 on site where the oil keeps on coming up to the surface, it would take decades for us to actually finish. When you guys get a chance to look into Pit 91, it's going to look a little bit similar to what you saw in the observation pit. However, one major difference is that you'll notice the grid system that we actually use to dig inside of these pits. So this is the grid system from Project 23 that you're looking at. So you'll notice that there are colored grids on the matrix where all of the material is located. So this is from inside of one of the boxes. These grids are each 3 feet by 3 feet in length. And per grid, they only dig down 6 inches at a time. In Pit 91, we can only dig in that area during the summertime. Number one reason why we can only work in there in the summer is because the oil that you see seeping up around here as well as inside of the pits is only the same temperature as the environment around us. So during the summertime, it's at its gooeyest, it's easiest to remove. Summer also happens to be the best time that we have available staff and volunteers to work in those areas for a concentrated period of time. So in that area, it makes it a little bit more difficult, plus the oil keeps on coming up to the surface, so we have to keep on removing it and placing it into these older pits. When it comes to Project 23, however, all of these have been removed from that source of oil that keeps on coming up and causing a little bit of trouble. So now we can actually work inside of these boxes every single day of the year. Currently, they have about 2 or 3 of them open, but they are currently working on box 14, which is the one that's open right over there, and you saw a young lady working inside of it. So that is the one they're concentrating on right now, and hopefully within the next few months we'll be able to say that we're completely done with that one. But again, they still use the grid system. It's still 3 feet by 3 feet and 6 inches at a time per grid. But all the material that comes from there, whether it be the big fossils or the teeny tiny microfossils, we make sure that everything goes inside of the laboratory. Those buckets that you see around box 14, that is where all the microfossils get placed into and then gets placed inside of the museum. So per grid, it has its own little box, which is then taken into the museum. 2 spoonfuls at a time underneath the microscope, they sift through all of that microfossil material to try and figure out what is from a plant, what is from a bug, what is from a bird, and so on and so forth. So it takes quite a bit of patience, quite a bit of diligence to do all of this. So that's why we have our staff inside as well as those outside. So it is the work of all of these people, both laboratory staff as well as excavators working out here, that have really built this image of what Los Angeles is like. Those excavations from 100 years ago gave us the image of the big animals, the mammoths, the giant jaguars, the saber-toothed cats that used to roam here. But since 1969, when we started digging again in Pit 91 and to the present with Project 23, our image of Los Angeles has now, luckily, been able to be painted onto a canvas. So this is from 1987 of what Los Angeles looked like 30,000 years ago, and all of that from the time capsules that you're looking at right behind me. So it's not a world very different from today. Again, this is the Ice Age, but it's not full of ice, but it is a lot cooler. The plant life that came from this area, some of it is still alive and well today, but not in Los Angeles. You can still find it in Oregon, you can still find it in Washington, you can still find it in certain areas of Northern California, just not here because it's too hot in this area now. So it's just amazing to really be able to paint this picture of 30,000 years ago, and this is just from material from the microfossils of Pit 91. In the coming years, once we incorporate whatever comes from Project 23, this image is going to become a lot sharper, and we'll have an even better view of what Los Angeles looked like. Pit 91 gives us the time period of 33,000 to 25,000 years ago. but Project 23 goes as far back as 46,000 years ago. So we have a huge sleuth of material to really go through before we can really paint this imagery again and give you guys a better idea of Los Angeles. But this is just an amazing find. Again, something that was not planned at all whatsoever, but we are very grateful for what has come from the information from this location. And hopefully in the years to come, more information will continue to be made, because in the words of John C. Merriam, who was the original excavator here, I always like leaving it on his words because he said it best. The greatest value coming from our vision of change and time and their consequences is the idea that the world moves and that what we do is important for the coming generations. So the work of these excavators, past, present, and future, is going to determine what this place will be like for all generations to come. So I want to thank all of you guys for joining me today. If you have any questions, I will definitely stick around to answer them. Go and take a look at Pit 91. Again, this is an excavation that's been going on for 100 years and we're still working inside of it. And then again, go and take a look at those fossils inside the museum, both those inside of the laboratory as well as those on display. And now that you can really make the connection between the park and the meaning of all of these fossils. So thank you so much, everyone.